Imagine if you took out your phone. What was the latest notification you received? That notification could have been a text from your mom, a snap from a friend, or even an alert that someone liked one of your recent Instagram posts. Whatever the case, checking your phone is an action that many, if not all of you, do without even thinking. Now think about it. Would it have mattered if you saw your last notification 3 minutes later? Or how about 3 minutes earlier? Right now, this action of checking our phones has become a habit with limited to no consequences. However, this is not always the case. Mindlessly picking up our phones can be extremely consequential. Every action we take has consequences, not only for ourselves, but for others as well. On the evening of September 14th, 2017, I was walking up the stairs to my room to take a shower. It was a Thursday night, just a few weeks into my 8th grade year. My parents were downstairs, watching TV, and as I was almost to the top step, I heard my mother shriek. I paused, instantly confused. It sounded like some mixture of uncontrollable laughter and bawling. After hearing this, I decided to sit down, assuming she was laughing at some funny scene on television. I was excited to hear this joke as my father asked her, "What is it?" Soon after this question, I heard my mother utter 3 unforgettable words. "Emily just died." My mind raced. After hearing this, it was immediately apparent that this was a cry of horror and grief. Being only 13 at the time, and without prior knowledge of how to cope with this kind of news, I simply sat on the stairs. As I listened to my mother's uncontrollable sobs, all I could think of was how my childhood best friend was gone. Several minutes later, I went into my room and began receiving a barrage of texts and calls from my other friends. Everyone was crying and asking about what happened. We tried to comfort each other, but no amount of consolation or explanation made this situation make sense. We were devastated. The next several days were incredibly difficult, not only for myself, but for many friends and family who knew her. Despite all that had happened, we all still had to go to school and move forward with our lives. We were expected to try and live as if this event was inconsequential, despite the fact that it was not. We later learned that Emily lost her life in a rear-end accident because of a distracted driver. A 22-year-old man hit her car on the highway while texting as she was returning home from her volleyball game. She had been riding in the back seat of a family member's car when the driver hit them from behind at a high rate of speed and stopped traffic on Loop 1604. Every day, it is estimated that at least 9 people are killed in distracted driving incidents in the U.S. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, over 3,000 people died in 2017 in these types of crashes. Bexar County alone had over 24,000 distracted driving accidents. Sadly, Emily is included in that year's statistics as one of the 46 fatalities in our county. I had known Emily since before kindergarten. We shared a common food allergy, so we were together at school nearly all of the time, especially at lunchtime and mostly at each other's houses. We had also done many sports together, like gymnastics, swimming, and volleyball. In middle school, Emily was an avid swimmer and volleyball player, and had hopes to one day fulfill her dream of becoming a doctor. Even as a mere 13-year-old girl, she had an exceptionally promising future. Because of a careless error, however, she never even got to experience high school. Everyone that knew her or was involved at the accident site experienced a profound loss in many ways. From the first responders to the Good Samaritans at the scene of the accident, to the myriad of friends and family, this was a life-changing loss. A perfectly healthy 13-year-old who was in the wrong place at the wrong time and killed instantly in a brutal event, taken in the prime of her life. Even for the driver, this was a life-changing event. Imagine having to live with the fact that you killed someone for the sake of a message and having to face the serious legal consequences of a manslaughter charge. Her family now has to live with a gigantic void, missing an irreplaceable part of their family for the rest of their lives and enduring the lifelong consequences of this man's actions. Obviously, most, if not all, of the decisions we make on a daily basis do not end in tragedy. For example, maybe you woke up this morning and considered taking one of your mental health days. After much thought, you decided to go ahead and attend school and realized by the end of the day how much you would have missed had you decided to stay home. This is a simple example of how thinking before you act can result in a positive outcome. In this case, the positive outcome was the relief you felt at the end of the day of not missing out on some important class notes, interesting conversation, or exam review. Good decision making leads to generally good outcomes, and it definitely takes practice to think before you act. By giving yourself time to think about your actions, you can gain better habits and make wiser decisions on a daily basis at home, in the car, at school, or wherever you may be. We all have room for improvement in how we think and act for our own good as well as for the good of others. Things happen when we take action and there are consequences. We need to keep in mind the results of our actions and how these could be beneficial or hurtful to ourselves or others. In terms of actions, we often don't think of their impact on others, even though the repercussions can be significant and affect people we may not even know. The accident I described earlier is a severe example of how one decision can affect hundreds of lives. It serves a reminder of how impactful and irreversible some of our actions are. We make dozens of decisions a day that lead to all types of consequences, of which effects can be deliberate, accidental, or even delayed. You are the only person responsible for your actions, and there is no reset or undo button in life. You may be free to make whatever decision you want, but that does not relieve you of consequences. While we cannot necessarily predict the outcome of all of our decisions, we can be aware of how our actions and their consequences can change lives. Thank you.
Well done.
It feels weird without the mic.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,